If you clicked on this video, you're more than likely questioning whether or not the profession that you're waking up every single day working is the right one for you. What's up, guys? My name is McKeown. I'm a licensed real estate agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I also invest in real estate. And to be honest with you guys, 5 or 6 years ago, I was exactly in the same position that you may be in today. Now, before I got into real estate about 6 years ago, I actually moved to Dallas, Texas, took a high school teaching and coaching job, and decided to get my real estate license on the side. But I can tell you, waking up every single day as a high school teacher pales in comparison to how I am waking up on the daily now as a full-time real estate agent 6 years later. However, that isn't exactly the entire story. When I was 19, I decided to join the Marine Corps, and I also do fortunately have a handful of folks that watch my channel that are veterans themselves. It's one of the few jobs that if you decide to take, you can't really do anything about it. Now, there are some illegal options that you can decide to just walk away from your commitment, but I would highly suggest against that. So unfortunately, at the age of 19, I made a 4-year commitment to join the Marine Corps and serve our country. Now it's technically been 10 years since I got out of the Marine Corps. What I can tell you now is, having been out of the Marine Corps, I certainly loved and appreciated the time that I spent in the Marine Corps. Also, a lot of the benefits that you can get once you serve our country are tremendous. But what I can tell you is, when I was surrounded by a bunch of people that I didn't relate with. And to be honest with you, I woke up every single day frustrated, knowing that I had no choice whatsoever but to continue to work, continue to get up, and just push through day by day. Now, in addition to that, I've worked at Wendy's, I've worked at McDonald's, I've worked a ton of other jobs as well that I didn't particularly like, but they paid the bills, or they got me where I needed to get, and at the end of the day, they were just kind of a stepping stone to make it to where I finally landed, and that was at the age of 27, being a real estate agent. Now, there are a few signs that I noticed, whether it was in the Marine Corps itself or as a high school teacher, because those two professions are what I spent the most time in, 4 years in the Marine Corps and just 2 years teaching. Now, those signs are actually what led me to real estate, but not directly to real estate. To be honest with you, I just kind of tripped and fell into real estate, and I feel fortunate enough to, because it was the profession that honestly I was searching for. So you may be asking, what exactly are those signs? And I can tell you there's one that leads the forefront more than anything else. And I think this was the most obvious when I was teaching high school. Most of you probably can relate to this if you're working a corporate 9-to-5 or you're working a job that you don't entirely love. It's our alarm clock. When you wake up every single day, most of us, if we have an early job, or maybe even, for instance, such as myself, that, in the Marine Corps, I was working mid-crew, having to wake up and be at work around 11:30 at night, and working throughout the entire night trying to stay awake. But that darn alarm clock that goes off every single morning, such as myself when I was a teacher, I had 3, 4, maybe 5 alarms set every single morning. And oftentimes, it wasn't that first alarm clock that went off that I just jumped out of bed excited to get the day started. It was oftentimes, how many more alarms can I continue to press to not actually be late for wrestling practice? Now, this particular situation would happen oftentimes in the Marine Corps as well. But unfortunately, if you're familiar at all with the Marines, you do not show up late. If you do show up late, needless to say, you're going to be paying for it later. Now, fortunately enough, with teaching, my job setup was a little bit different than most. I was actually a majority of the time coaching and only teaching about 1 or 2 classes a day. So I didn't have to be at class at 8 o'clock in the morning with my students banging on the door, wondering why I'm 15 or 30 minutes late. I would just show up to wrestling practice. Now, obviously, it wasn't something that I would try to do regularly, but if I did sleep in, I'd have kind of the convenience of showing up late and just coming up with an excuse to give my head coach, rather than having 30 students standing outside a door wondering why I'm not starting class yet. Now, the reason why I would set 3, 4, or maybe 5 different alarms is because I was just so exhausted and so frustrated with my daily life that I didn't want to get up and get to work. I didn't love what I did. Now, I'll be honest with you, I loved the coaching aspect, but I didn't love the teaching aspect. I also didn't love the fact that I could put in so many hours and really my pay would never differ. So this really was one of the biggest signs for me, knowing that just in my 2nd year of teaching, I was already frustrated every single morning having to wake up and go do this profession. I knew for a fact that this profession couldn't be the one for me, because just in the 2nd year alone, I was having frustrations every single morning getting up and getting ready. My mom, for instance, still is teaching middle school PE close to 40 years. My sister, on the other hand, is probably at about 10 years of teaching elementary education. Me only being at year 2 and already having the frustrations and really the desire to seek something else, I knew that I needed an out, and I knew that I needed something that was going to fulfill me just a little bit more. Now, really for me, it was the difference between teaching and coaching. Now, coaching is, to be honest with you, the real reason that I got into education. And if you're unfamiliar with Texas, you have to be an individual at the school district, employed by the school district, in order for you to actually coach that sport. It's not like I could go be an attorney and I could actually coach wrestling. Now, that is something that is a little bit different in my home state of Washington State, where yes, I could be an attorney and then still coach wrestling on the side. But due to the competition in high school athletics, specifically football down in Texas, if it's a public school, you do have to be an employee of that school district in order to coach. So yes, I moved to Texas with the intention to coach wrestling, but in part, I also had to be a teacher as well. Now, that second year of teaching and coaching, I will be honest with you guys, it was an absolute dream profession. As I mentioned earlier before, I really wasn't even teaching a ton, but even only teaching 1 or 2 classes a day, I was still exhausted and frustrated when I would wake up every single day knowing that I was going to have to go to a profession, work a job that I didn't truly have passion for. Now, I'm not exactly saying that you have to wake up every single day passionate about what you do, waking up without an alarm clock, waking up without ever hitting that snooze button, but I can tell you that was the biggest sign for me as a high school teacher, knowing that there had to be more out there for me. So what may be the next sign that the current profession you are working may not be the one that is right for you? What I can tell you is something I experienced while I was in the Marine Corps itself. Now, as I mentioned before, while I was in the Marine Corps, I was surrounded by a bunch of people that I, for lack of better terms, I just didn't get along with. I didn't feel like they were on the same trajectory in terms of the direction I wanted to take in my life. Now, I'm not going to stereotype every single person in the Marine Corps, but I was enlisted, so I was surrounded by a bunch of people that, first of all, didn't want to go to college. As soon as I joined the Marine Corps and I had the opportunity, I was taking online courses. I was taking evening courses, or even, as I mentioned before, when I was working mid-crew, I'd get off at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning and immediately go to a community college and act like a normal college student. Now, that is something that at the time, not a lot of Marines were doing, and I would put a hard guess that even today, not a lot of Marines are taking advantage of the opportunity to go to school while you're actually in the Marine Corps. Now, on top of that, smoking is a big thing in the military. Again, this is 15 years ago when I was in. It may be less prevalent now, but oftentimes I would be working my butt off and a lot of people would be taking smoke breaks just to get off work, to really, for lack of better terms, just be lazy, find any kind of reason they could to not have to work. And again, that was just something that I wasn't going to take up in order to take a little bit of time off. And lastly, it ties in with just, smoke breaks and being lazy and not having the effort or desire to go to school. Really, at the end of the day, if you're working alongside people or even colleagues and peers outside of work that you're choosing to spend time with, in the after hours, if they are not similar minded, you're likely just going to mesh with kind of the direction they're headed. Meaning that if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of people that don't have a future, don't have any desire to better themselves, don't have any desire to potentially get somewhere in life. And a good example here was I actually applied to get out early so I could go to a college that took about a year for approval. I actually had someone that worked in the same division as me with about 2 weeks before he actually got out of the Marine Corps and was asking, hey, how do I get into college? What do I do? What am I supposed to do in order to get somewhere in life? Needless to say, he just wound up signing a re-enlistment package, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him still in the Marine Corps today. And again, this is no detriment or downplay to people serving in the Marine Corps. I actually had a desire to get out, get my degree, and go back in as an officer that didn't wind up working, but I was just surrounded on a daily basis with people that were, for lack of better terms, bringing me down rather than pushing me forward. Now, on the flip side, technically, even before I got my real estate license and had moved to Dallas, I met a good friend who became one of my best friends and has helped me tremendously over the last 6 years in my business. That's the type of person that I wanted to surround myself with. He was working his 9 to 5 as a CPA, But his 9 to 5 was his 9 to 5. He also had, after his 9 to 5, his 5 to 9. For instance, such as myself when I was in college, I was not just working a full-time job as a server at Applebee's. As soon as I got off from that serving job, I hit that go button on Uber in order to earn even additional income throughout the night as long as I could until I got tired and decided to call it a day. I was the same way as a teacher. I was renting out cars on Turo. I was meeting with clients during lunch periods. For real estate, I was just trying to build as much as I could because I knew that 9 to 5 as a teacher and a coach was not going to be my forever 9 to 5. I was looking for that 5 to 9 to then turn into my full-time gig. So this may be a sign that you're surrounding yourself with the wrong type of people, but this could also be some advice for you as well to make sure that who you do surround yourself with are going to be the people that kind of push you forward in life rather than drag you to where they are. And the last and final sign that finding a new career or heading towards a different profession may be right for you could be a combination of all of these things, such as maybe you're bored, maybe your company that is employing you is not valuing you at your highest. On top of that, you may also be frustrated, such as I was when I was waking up every single day as a high school teacher. And even beyond those three things, being completely exhausted could be a hard sign that you need to look into something else. Now, that doesn't mean that you're exhausted from working a ton of hours. Maybe you're working 60, 80, 90 hours a week. Yes, you're likely going to be exhausted if you're working your butt off. But if you're working a job that's only 30 to 40 hours a week and you're exhausted, it's likely that you're not exhausted from the amount of hours that you're working. You're exhausted because the job that you are working isn't the right job for you. Now, my particular situation and the way I feel is not going to be pertinent and applicable to every single person. Obviously, every single person is a little bit different. Me personally, I need something that I know if I put a certain amount of hours in, I'm going to be rewarded in some sense based on the amount of time and effort that I put in. For instance, teaching is not something that was going to fulfill me because, for instance, if I was working 20 hours, 40 hours, 60 hours a week teaching, my pay was going to stay the same. The reward was going to stay the same. Now, at the end of the day, I do have students from the 2 years of teaching still reach out to me and thank me for the time that I spent with them. Some of them even admitting that I was their favorite high school teacher. So yes, if you apply that over the span of 40 years, there's likely going to be a lot of those moments that students reach back out to you and appreciate the time and effort that you put in. But that appreciation is not something that was going to keep me in the profession, such as real estate, where, hey, if I work 20 hours a week, I'm going to get paid likely for the 20 hours worth of work that I did. Now, on the flip side, the first 3 or 4 years in the business, I was spending 50, 60, 70 hours a week working. So yes, that 50 to 60, maybe 70 hours worth of work a week, I was being paid appropriate to the amount of time that I put in. So as much as I love teachers, as much as I have a lot of teachers in my family, and I myself was a teacher, I respect and appreciate teachers just as much as I respect those people that served our country. But both of those professions are similar in a sense where you're going to get paid what you get paid, and there's really no expectation or opportunity at the end of the day to really create something of your own and build something of your own to the point where you can get financially free. Now let's get to the last point, guys, and this is probably the most important one for you if you've gotten to this point of the video. And it's plain and simple, guys. If you've clicked this video, you're more than likely either a subscriber to my channel and a truly faithful subscriber, and I truly appreciate you. Make sure to hit that like button. It truly does mean the world to me. But if that is not who you are, being an avid subscriber to my YouTube channel, you're likely clicking this video for a reason. You're clicking this video because you're working a profession or a job that you don't entirely love. Something that maybe you're waking up on a daily basis, frustrated, maybe exhausted, bored, whatever it may be, and you're trying to find out whether or not a different profession is the right move for you. Now, being an individual that has gone from the Marine Corps to feeling like he made it finally as a high school teacher and wrestling coach, to really honestly within the second year of teaching and coaching, realizing that there's no way in heck that I was going to be able to do this for the next 40 years, and then hopping to another profession that essentially made me erase 6 years of college education in order to pursue my own business in real estate. But what I can tell you is I've never looked back. Now, this isn't something that is going to happen every single time, meaning that you leave a profession and find the perfect profession for you the very first time or very first attempt that you make. But what I can tell you is you're not going to be able to find something that truly fulfills you and makes you happy and love what you do unless you seek it out and continue to try to find something that you are truly passionate about. Now, that particular thing for me is real estate and just being able to help people with likely the largest financial decision of their life. But it's also even branched off beyond that. Now, a lot of what I enjoyed as a teacher, I am now helping educate real estate agents across the country. There may be a time and point down the road where I may even coach real estate agents. I know a lot of folks reach out to me from this YouTube channel, and I educate them a lot from the videos that I post, but I also educate them personally, whether it be through Instagram, text, phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever it may be. I'm giving back in a sense that still allows me to enjoy a lot of the aspects that I enjoyed as a teacher. But to put it plain and simple, it's folks that are reaching out actively to pursue more and more education in the realm of real estate versus high school teaching was essentially, you may not like this when I say this, but babysitting kids that are not there because they want to be there. They're there because they are required to be there. So if any of these signs do apply to you, I strongly suggest that you seek something else out. It doesn't have to mean that you just jump ship from your current job and jump into another ship. Just like myself, you can start to build your side hustle or your side job up enough to the point where you feel like it finally can overcome your full-time job. And maybe you do try something else out on the side and realize that, hey, this isn't for me. You didn't give away your full-time job. You didn't give away your main source of income. You realize that this wasn't for you, and you have an opportunity to try something else. So truly, guys, I am a firm believer in seeking out other opportunities, not giving up everything that you have now for that opportunity, but try and see if that other profession that maybe intrigues you or interests you is the real and right profession for you. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help, and stay tuned for the next video.